Well, good morning, everybody. Paul Dean here. It's Friday, Smart Market Call, 10 a.m. Eastern. Oh, there's Bob Sanford. Morning, Bob. Welcome. Glad you made it. We hold this call every Friday morning at 10 o'clock Eastern as a little bit of a follow-up to what's going on in the markets this week, what's going on with our platform this week, any new developments or training that we might have on our platform, and make you aware of that. Oh, someone just grabbed my screen. This week's guest, we've got Sean Ryan from National Lumber Company. Mike's going to have a nice discussion about him, even about the possibility of switching or talking about switching product species and replacing certain species and grades with other replacement species and grades as a way of navigating this marketplace. That'll be an interesting discussion. I was going to try and find out, I said to Mike yesterday, that's sort of like the I'd rather fight than switch campaign. And Mike went deer in the headlights on me. He said, I don't know what you're talking about. And I said, well, you're not old enough then to remember the old, I think it was some sort of cigarette commercial where they said, I'd rather fight than switch. And I want to say it was, I don't know, remember what it was, but anyway, it obviously doesn't resonate with this crowd either, because you guys are all too young to remember, except Joe Campagna, who's nodding his head yes and no there. So this was a busy couple of weeks for Materials Exchange in terms of the marketing world. As I mentioned last week, Mike was a guest speaker on the Timber and Technology Conference, specifically on the B2B digital supply chain discussion that was going on. And Mike's been really taking the lead role, obviously, as our CEO in terms of representing the digital evolution of the platform and specifically Materials Exchange, but the whole concept of digital awareness of the platform. So, and then also we had our very first Lumber Live session with Ashley and with Matt Lehman. And I'm going to show you a quick screenshot from that. This is what it looked like. Matt Lehman and Ashley hold a 45-minute discussion at lunchtime. Whoops. Just when I say I can easily do that.
Are being charged today, so these are the numbers you're likely to see on your next lumber lot. So if you're $30 a square foot this month, good likelihood you're going to be $5 a square foot higher next month. So you can look at comparing the year. I like to just see the extremes, like where were you a year ago, where are we now, and where are you going to be next month. So you check for your region, area 1, area 2, area 3, area 4. Or if you happen to be a builder that's in multiple areas.
All right, so that's just an example of what that call was and what you can expect every Thursday at 12:30. That was very heavily attended. I think we had, well, you can see up the upper left hands, we had 58 attendees on there on our very first one. And frankly and honestly, we're all getting used to the various different platforms and availability and where to find things. Yesterday, I had someone ping me on LinkedIn with a note to send them a link to our SmartMarket call. And I went to reply and I forgot where I even got it from. I didn't know if it came from a LinkedIn note, if it came from my Outlook mail, if it came from my messages on my phone. I got a little bit lost on where I had even received the message from and how to reply. So we're all getting used to the digital world in terms of marketing. And in fact, here was the case where we put something out on our website and with an electronic tweak, and we got 58 users on it the first time. It's a great platform. Mike is really adamant about us taking the lead on using LinkedIn Live as a live sharing platform, and it went really, really well yesterday. So I want to congratulate Ashley and Matt Lehman for doing that. In our world, oops, there we go. I talked a little bit last week about a new system enhancement, which we should be rolling out here really any day shortly. It's called Active Markets. I call it the marketing phrase I gave it was point and shoot. And the reason that I call it point and shoot is when you look at our existing screens, we've coached you to know that our transactions are a 1-to-1 transaction. If you're looking for a 2x4/8 in SPF in a certain length, you've got to have that exact SKU in there to get a match. If someone is offering it prompt, unless you've got 2x4/8 SPF 8-footer prompt in your watch list, you actually won't see that transaction. So that's both a blessing and a curse, right? We give you the granularity to see and transact at the item level, but also it precludes you sometimes from actually seeing everything that's out there. So that's one of the challenges we've had as we launched the product, and we've reacted to that. Now, Joe Campagna, who you heard from last week, we've reacted to that now with the ability to take what we call the active markets. That is everything that is being offered on the platform itself. And you'll see on the left-hand side, every single at the species and grade level item that's being offered. And then you can select those items. You can select only the ones that pertain to you, or you can select all of them if you would like. And we call that our point. And then you can select the watch lists that you have in your inventory files and shoot, if you would, or copy and paste those into your watch list across all of your different locations. That is a huge, huge benefit. It's a huge new feature to be able to see everything that's live on the platform and then apply that to your individual locations. And of course, when they're in your individual locations, you will be seeing your loaded landed pricing, freight included. So kudos to the development team. That's an absolute massive product enhancement. We should be rolling that out here in the coming days and weeks. And again, just one more provision, that's also on the selling side. So if you are a supplier, you can also see what bids are in the marketplace, what people across all locations are looking for. So it's a two-way street. It's a really nice enhancement to our product line. Joe will be helping me to demo this in the coming weeks. Also, as a reminder, hopefully this next week, I do Tuesday, Wednesday, and Thursday training calls. I'll be highlighting point and shoot on the Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday training call, probably for the next couple of weeks. And so if you're looking for that, if I don't get you one-on-one in demos, make sure you jump on those training calls and you'll have the ability to get up to speed on that. You all should have received by now an email from us this morning. So we've been talking over the last couple of sessions. Oops, my mouse is. Over the last couple of sessions, we introduced the New Frontiers Conference. And I showed you some screenshots. Now we've got the marketing piece is out. You should have received this by email this morning, if not last night. And these are some screenshots of that marketing piece. May 19th through Wednesday through Friday, May 19th in Chicago. We've set the price at $550, which is all inclusive of all the meals and breaks that you're going to receive. So just travel and hotel is on your own. We've got a great lineup of a program on Wednesday afternoon. We're going to be doing industry roundtables, talking about the issues of the day, which certainly will presumably include these markets. We'll be talking on Thursday with a full lineup of speakers, I think, that I've showcased before, in terms of we've got Ted Albrecht, who is a former lineman for the Chicago Bears, also the voice of Northwestern University football, will be our MC. We've got Dustin Cohn from Goldman Sachs, who'll be talking about change. We've got Nick Falco, who is also the Peacock digital streaming program manager from NBC Universal. Cam Mahoney, who is a global account director for SAP, who does strategic implementations for SAP, and he's always convincing his clients how to change and how to adopt new business processes to improve their bottom line. Craig Christensen is the head and CEO of Highway Farms, who is also a nationally known figure in the pork supply chain industry. He's going to be talking about change that he witnessed and drove in the industry. And then finally, Josh Deeth will have a special event as the founder and CEO of Revolution Brewing. We'll be doing our Thursday night event there on site at his place. There's the schedule of events. Again, it's $550 inclusive of all your meals and everything you'll need once you're on site. And to register, simply call any one of us, drop us all a note. You've got the marketing piece should have arrived in your email box now. We'll be pushing that out to you regularly. With that, Ashley, I'm going to turn it over to you. Ash, you there?
Paul, I am. Can you hear me?
I can. Go ahead.
Great. It's funny, you and I, we were on a sales call before this, you, Steve, and myself, and we were saying, what's the match of the week going to be? And we kind of kicked around some ideas, and I'm like, and I hung up, and I'm sitting there thinking, I have to think of what the match of the week is. All of a sudden the screen lit up and we had a match, and it was perfect because it highlighted the perfect match of the week. Mac, who runs the Twin Rivers mill up in Canada, challenged me yesterday. He said, "Hey, Ashley, you need to get some other people. You're selling to the same 2 or 3 people out of my, when I list stuff here, I want to see some more depth of your customers." So we went out and challenged a few people, and Tom Mabry from ICG bought the car this morning. So it's going all the way from Twin Rivers down to, is that Green Cove?
Yep.
Paul, which is because Tom challenged me also, saying, "Hey, I want to see some more stuff coming out of the mills also," right? And so to me, that is the perfect match of the week. A person that challenged me on the sell side and a person that challenged me on the buy side. So 2 very happy users, excited about it. Mac's going to put some more stuff up today. So really cool. The market, I almost feel like that Bitcoin quote unquote guru that you see on social media that just comes on and says, "Boy, oh boy, the price keeps going up." And I hate that Bitcoin people that always get in my blog somehow. But the price is going up right now. Will it go up forever? No. You know, the best way to find out information is join Matt and I on our Thursday calls. But we are, we are seeing the exact opposite of what we saw over the last 3 or 4 weeks. We have more bids right now than offers, but I'm working diligently to get more offers up on the screen. So we are going to scratch and claw to get more offers up there. One other thing I wanted to throw out that's really important. If you are a person that only buys truckload, you, first of all, you're not alone, but 2, you should put a location on, and if you need help, we can help you through Raven Logistics, our logistical rail partner. We can find you a public warehouse where you can put in your location so you can look at what truckloads are and what carloads are. And we have all different type of options for you for doing that. That way you get a look at both sides of the market. And I believe our guest speaker, Sean, maybe he could even speak to that too, because I think he has his truck location and a public warehouse location up there. So that's my my shtick for the day, Paul. I'll kick it back to you.
All right. Thanks, Ashley. Appreciate it. Again, one more plug for Ashley and Matt Lehman. Lumber Live, our digital trading discussion that we hold every Thursday now at 12:30 Eastern. If you're looking for the link for that, you can go to multiple places. You can go to our LinkedIn site itself. You can go to our webpage and you'll see stuff there. And then certainly we'll push reminders and invites out to you by mail. So with that, I'd like to introduce or turn this over to Mike to talk with Sean Ryan. Mike?
Thank you, Paul. Very excited to have Sean on the call today. Sean's got a good story and a true innovator in the industry, probably more by circumstance than choice. But we're going to get into that. So let's say hello to, hey, Sean.
Yeah, hey, everybody. I'm Sean Ryan. Know some of you. Don't know most of you. I came into this industry about 6 years ago from a non-lumber background. I worked here some summers in high school, college, that kind of thing. It's a family business, but prior to this, my experience was really in the financial industry. The way I found MaterialsXchange was when I got launched in here, and my old man tapped me and said, "Hey, you want to give this a shot?" When I started buying commodity lumber, I was appalled at how long it took to collect market information. A lot of brokers, a lot of wholesale guys were still phone guys, not email, which is fine. It certainly has its place, but it made the struggle of price discovery take much longer. Add to that the sales calls from brokers, dealers throughout the day, and I do like talking to folks, but you know, it's hard to split the time when you're doing purchasing and other things in the business. So I actually Googled something like lumber live price market, and Mike Wisniewski's LinkedIn page popped up. So I was lucky to be able to reach out to him, and then we started talking. That was at least 4 years ago, maybe 3.5. Anyway, I really was interested in getting involved with the platform early. Still involved on the platform. I try to look daily at it and make it part of my routine. I really wanted to come out to the New Frontiers conference. However, I'm getting married about 3 days before, and when I brought up maybe going to Chicago instead of Aruba to my wife-to-be, she was not happy about Chicago versus Aruba. So
It's
yeah,
amazing.
I know, it's surprising. It's really surprising. I tried to tell her, beautiful city, but it didn't land. Anyway, so I came into this business and have only ever worked at this lumber yard. I had no other experience in the industry, so I was kind of in this little black box. When I came in here, that's still the case. We have a split inventory of Doug fir and spruce. It shifts year to year, but I'm about 65-35 for the spruce right now. And I think Bob Sanford would tell you it's a weird state. So just about anything north of Hartford, I almost have to sell spruce. Anything south of Hartford in some pockets, it's all fir. So that really doubles our inventory cost, and once things started to move up last year, and spruce and fir started to kind of converge, we had to really manage the expectations of our customers. The vast majority of our spruce guys will take fir. The vast majority of our fir guys will not take spruce. So communicating to our customers product alternatives effectively was really, they talk about Yankee ways in this state, and it's really difficult to get people to change until fir half-inch plywood is $65 a sheet, and you tell them you can get pine for $55, and then suddenly people start to look. No, and it's a credit to an open market that product alternatives continue to come out. We had a guy last month who told me, I cannot build this apartment building in wood. It's far too expensive. I'm going to go steel. And thanks, Sean. I'll talk to you next year. We'll see what happens. And he called me back 3 days later and said, boy, I just got my steel price back. I guess we're going lumber. And that's because, when price action like this happens in the market, it tugs at the corners of everything. So, he was not the first guy to have the idea, I'll frame in steel, but alternatives exist, and they're going to continue to keep hitting the market. We're seeing more and more Euro options come along. It seems like day by day, I see a lot more Euro sitting in ports and yards around here. And I think things like that will continue happening. I brought in Hemfer for the first time this year, trying to talk some of them. And these are guys who 20 years ago remembered when we were trying to push Hemfer in the Connecticut market. And they told me, no, it's green, it's going to swell. But products change. Now you can buy dried Hemfer. So I'm coming at this a little bit off the cuff. It's a little bit of a late addition to this phone call.
So here, I got a question.
Sure.
For your customers, what's the trick that you have to do to get them to switch outside of price?
So it's called a trick. It's really starting the conversation early and making sure that you have the data to back it up, right? I mean, if people are going to ask you about spans in wide dimensions, you need to be able to tell them what those spans are. If people are going to talk to you about varying warranties on subfloor, if you're trying to offer an alternative, you need to be able to talk about that. If you're offering a product that doesn't carry a warranty, say, your customer needs to communicate, well, it doesn't really matter because I'm framing in July and I plan on having a roof on in 10 days. So I think so long as your customers are willing to have that conversation with your salespeople or you or your operations people, you're in much better shape. And a lot of that's built on how much your customers trust you and the market information that you have.
Well,
And
let's talk about that information for a second. What are you doing to gather that? I guess what's been the best, easiest way to get the information, and where has it been tough?
yeah,
The second part of that. Well, go ahead, answer that, and then I got another question on that.
I think you need to rely on either vendor sources or representatives for the help on having those conversations. Those are guys who have those conversations every day. It's a little bit more difficult to try to Google an answer to that question and hope you landed on the right thing. So, especially for me, right? I mean, I am wise in that I know nothing. So generally trying to surround yourself with folks who can help you answer those questions is helpful with communicating it to the customer.
So let's flip to building codes.
Yeah.
And if you want to talk about something slow to change, obviously building codes can be a massive barrier to entry for a new product.
Yeah.
Or new species. What do you see change happening there? Are these officials making it easier for products to come in, like Euro, for instance?
Yeah, it's so based on the individual doing the inspection, and that's really consciousness raising, education, making sure you're willing to talk to building inspectors, and I'm sympathetic to the code officials too. I had a builder last week ask me if there was anything thinner than 7/16 that he could put on his walls because he was hoping it would be cheaper. So since the advent, especially I think of engineered wood products, I think officials and people interpreting code are more and more willing to step out of the regular box and accept. And a lot of that is helped by manufacturers being willing to join, I don't know, either the APA or the American Wood Products Association or somebody who will take them through a certification process. And I think that's something that officials are willing to lean on and trust.
What about the design of the buildings and even at the architectural level? Have you had to get involved as the supplier and say, look, this isn't available, so you're gonna have to do something different, or this is what is available, can we put this in the spec?
Yeah, and I think that has gotten out to the market now, how difficult supplying material is. I was just telling somebody this morning, who was sending me something they saw on Facebook or LinkedIn. Now there are jokes about how expensive lumber is. That means that it's entered the mainstream and that people are aware of it, right? I mean, lumber's been on the front page of the Wall Street Journal 6 times in the past year, more than it usually is. So I think now that that's out into the ether, people understand that alternatives have to happen. And so it's even more important to get in early on the design phase. And I think most builders are willing to lean on their lumber yard for help on that. I think that's always been a competitive advantage of the independent lumber yard as opposed to a builder working with a Home Depot or a Lowe's.
Let's talk about your customers for a second, not specifically, but
Sure.
Are you seeing a specific type of customer or mentality of customer that is being more successful in this market versus another one? Like, do you try to gravitate towards, I guess probably customers that think more like you?
Yeah, and I think right now, when everyone is so busy, you're better off turning down some customers who might not be on the same page or might be a little bit more rigid in their thinking. So generally, it's the professional builder who's been doing this for a while, and while maybe those guys haven't seen supply issues like this, I think they've seen supply issues in the past and are much more willing to look at alternatives now.
The first wave up, and then I think we basically kind of paused here until this wave that we're in now. I was shocked at how inelastic the demand was. You know, we all go back to, it's a simple equation, supply demand, and it should balance itself out. And both supply and demand were inelastic, as in at these price levels, there should be supply coming out of the woodwork and demand should be waning, and it hasn't happened. Do you get any sense from what you're hearing in the industry that at this price point now we're finally getting to a spot where, yeah, we can't build this building, right?
Yeah, I mean, so you would think maybe some invisible hand action would be happening right now, and it will eventually. But you know, at least in the new construction industry, as home prices continue to march north, as long as that stays in tandem with input costs, if builders are, and I think when builders start to see some margin compression, and a lot of them already are, and that's an education part too. That's why it's so important to stay in front of your customers, to know what quotes you have out there, and to follow up with these folks so that they know, hey, you need to change your bid, hey, you need to change your contracts. We're really encouraging builders to talk about putting material price escalation clauses and everything that's not a spec house, and on spec homes to list where the market is. You know, most people are so focused on getting in and out quickly, but in a market like so yeah, I think I'm seeing a lot more anxiety from builders, and I get phone calls, you know, every week, like I'm sure a lot of people on this phone call do. Hey, what's the silver bullet? What's going to make this less expensive for me? And there's no one answer to that, right? It's a lot of smaller chipping away at price concerns. But it's important to have those conversations with your customers so that they don't have bad information when they go to market, you know. And then that's something that MaterialsXchange helps with a lot, right? Being able to dashboard pricing for what's live and being offered really helps you stay abreast of what's going on day to day in a market like this.
I think there's a couple of questions there that you might want to address too.
You know what? Can I see them? Oh, I can see them. Yep. Sean, are you going to be? Is that the one you're talking? Sean, are you going to be selling?
Well, it's a good segue. I mean, Sean, you've come from the financial markets, and you know the platform is a two-way street, right? I mean, you can both buy on it, you can both sell on it, and from your seat, and we've showcased over the last couple of weeks retailers that have been selling product because they've been heavy on inventory. The pricing has been perfect opportunities to make some money, and so they did it. From your seat, you know, what do you see as opportunities to use the exchange as a selling platform? And secondly, in your background in the financial industry, you know, we're really interested in your perspective of being in the finance industry and how that applies to the lumber business.
Sure. So I guess when we're dealing in a commodity market, right? My philosophy usually is it's about managing risk and exposure. So something like MaterialsXchange allowing me to, I'll talk about it like this, unwind a position, right? I've got 5,000 sheets of 5/8 CDX out there. It's too much, and I know that, right? Maybe it's 3 months worth of use for me, and this is of course a lot easier in an up market like this. But being able to unwind a large chunk of that quickly and maybe reinvest that money somewhere else where we think we're going to either need the inventory here or we see something that I think is undervalued, helps a lot. You know, so I've always traded back a little bit of inventory, but now, I mean, it's I could tie up a car coming into. We were talking about putting stuff into warehouses, so I could tie up a car and have it sent down to Lounsbury here, and at the same time, maybe I only need one truck of the pre-cuts that I ordered. List 3 trucks at the same time, and maybe make some money on the trucks, maybe not, but at least pay a car price on the one truck of studs that I need.
So, you know, Sean, I know you're a believer in the platform, obviously, you know, talking about that. As the the community here that's believers, what do you think it's going to take, and what can we do to convince more people in the industry to participate and show them that it's better for them and it's better for the industry? Because look, we come from this, oh, I'm going to give you a quiet deal, and everybody knows what the price of the quiet deal is anyway, right? But you know, we've gotten resistance in getting some suppliers on because they find it too disruptive to their current historic old, I'm going to call it old school selling methods. Do you have any idea? And I know you're part of the organization in the Northeast, the Lumber Dealer Association. But what do you think we can do as a group to say, look, this is transparency is better for everyone, and especially.
I think that's the messaging, right? I think the idea is, and you know, so I've found some deals on Materials Exchange that were better than I could get from, and there will always be a place in this industry for the phone call. Hey, I need a favor, for the relationship. But day to day, you know, I haven't been quiet about my support of Materials Exchange. I'm not trying to corner a good thing, because the more and more people who are involved in this platform, and the more clear price discovery becomes, and that can only happen when you have lots of buyers and lots of sellers on the same platform. The better off we all are, right? I mean, it's going to be better for us. It's going to be better for our customers, and as many people, you know, preserving the traditional role of the wholesaler, the brokerage, the traditional supply chain is fine, and there will always be a place, but you can't do it artificially.
No, I mean,
so I think that's the messaging to folks. You know, the more people who get involved, the better everyone's pricing will be, and the more efficient this market will become. And the more people will be active, and the more people will be listing, and the more products you'll be able to see potentially everything that you might need to purchase on the commodity side listed through one platform. And wouldn't that save you time? And isn't it about saving time and person hours and making our business more efficient?
for sure. So obviously the last 12 months have thrown us into a bit of a whirlwind. When we get through this, what do you see that's going to be different for your business?
Yeah, so, you know, there's a couple things operationally, right? Last March, when we all thought we were going to be shut down, I went out and I bought 20 laptops, and I stayed overnight at the lumberyard, hooking them up to screen mirroring programs and getting everybody set up, right? And there are people who we have continued to allow to stay home, because we found out that we're actually getting more production out of those people at home. So I think the flexibility of having people who can work from any station, right, where you don't need to be in the office, where you don't need to be picking up, let's take a purchaser, for instance, where you don't need to be picking up 20 phone calls a day with guys making you offers, will be extremely helpful. And I think that coming out of this thing, should we get out of it, I think we're pretty close. I really think that the customer base is going to be more open to alternative products, and more willing to take on new things, and willing to make more changes in how they're building their homes. See here from Ashley, Sean. What I see value in having the MX users group, I'd love that, whether it's Slack or Discord or LinkedIn or something. I think it would be really helpful to get a lot of input on maybe UX, maybe product design, and to speak to each other about our experiences and how we use the platform. You know, I'm trying to make it part of my routine every day, to at 9 o'clock in the morning, I see what's listed, 1 o'clock, take another look. And that's helping.
For sure. Back to the work from home concept, or remote work. This is the one that I just don't understand. What's your plan for training? I mean, I remember when I first got into the industry, I'm in the office and I'm just sitting next to, my mentor who we had on here before, Greg Riley. And I learned so much just from his conversation that I'm not part of. I'm just privy to be sitting near him and hearing how he talks and what he talks about, right? What do you have an idea how you're going to go about training some of the, people coming in?
Yeah. So, I mean, look what we're doing right now. If there is to be some training through osmosis, it's easy enough to set somebody up just like this all day and screen share with them if you're doing that remotely. I don't think it'll be necessary to remotely train everyone, but wouldn't it be nice to be able to do it? So boy, no, I haven't written a 10-point plan for how to train folks, but I think we've all become a lot more used to doing business this way. And I think that would include training.
All right, cool. So we're going to wrap up here, but I always finish up with a question. And the question is, what do you see in the future or the change, or what's something that's you're talking about, or at least thinking about, that you think no one else is seeing or hearing or thinking? Like what's Sean Ryan got going on in that brain?
It's a great question. What do I think that nobody else thinks? It's a dangerous question. I already, I think retail lumber dealers realize that change is coming, right? And as more and more of us get into things like turnkey development, and as the framers start to set up panelization plants and more sort of vertically integrated jobbers, right? I think lumber dealers get a little bit scared and try to react as, boy, maybe I need to go hire a framing crew. Maybe I need to figure out this part of the business too. But I think so long as the lumber yard remains the first place the builder goes to, maybe after getting plans drawn, but the first place where the builder goes to get input and advice on product selection and budgeting, and so long as the lumberyard remains sort of a consultative sales place and an advisor to the builder. I mean, we've got salespeople who've been doing business with the same people for 40 years, right? So they've built a ton of trust over that time. So I think regardless of whether in 20 years I'm still shipping out framing packages the same way I am, or I'm in-house designing wall panels and having them built by a third party and sending them out, and maybe advising on fixtures at the end. I think there'll still remain a place for the retail lumberyard, though I think it'll look very, very different in 10, 15, 5 years maybe.
That's really interesting, because the leverage, the position that the lumber dealer has leveraged historically has been the fact that they have it's bricks and mortar, and they have the distribution point, and they have the trucks, and they're talking about a level of service. And it's what you just basically said was, our service is going to be a data service or an information service overlaid on top of what is already expected, which is, you should bring me what I want when I want it. I find that kind of interesting. That your customers don't find value in you doing the service level well until you don't do it well, right? So you've got to look somewhere else, which is going to be the information level.
Yeah. No, that's a good point, Mike, and I agree with it.
Yeah, I mean, I think about Amazon.
All right, well, very good.
Oh, Amazon, what they provide me is an array of products that I can look at and see pricing. Now, if I expect everything to be delivered in 2 days, if they don't deliver it in 2 days, now I'm mad, right? But
and it's amazing that they've created that expectation in the past 5 years, right? And in 5 years, when it doesn't show up by drone in an hour, you're going to be just as upset as you were 5 years before when it didn't show up in 48 hours.
Yeah, that is interesting. Well, great. Thanks, Sean. This is fantastic. I see there's change coming in your future. I wish you could come to Chicago.
Me too.
But I would go to Aruba as well. You'll be on the next conference for sure.
Maybe on the
All right,
next
Paul.
bit, Mike. Thanks, everybody. I appreciate your time.
Go ahead, Paul.
All right, very good. Thank you for that. I appreciate it very much. You know, it's funny, I've been listening to quotes being accumulated here over the last number of meetings we've had. Just the other day, when we were talking about the markets, Matt Lehman said, greed and fear move markets. That was his underlying theme about what's going to, you know, change some of the behavior in the marketplace. Sean, you just mentioned a term that I've been rattling around here, artificial value. Our own Wells to Lawson from Ridgeway Trust down in Florida said just the other day that the platform exposes and makes so much transparency in the supply chain that it actually eliminates the artificial value that exists in a lot of the supply chain. It exposes artificial value in the supply chain, and the visibility and the transparency is great for doing that. And we'll all find our own level, right? The market will find its own level. Mike just mentioned that Amazon not only has created the expectation of delivering within 2 days, they've actually fulfilled it. I mean, that's why we have that expectation right now. They've created that value. It's quite fascinating. And then finally, Sean, I loved your final quote when you were talking about markets, and you said, "I am wise and I know nothing." And I said, you must have teenagers. I mean, because that's been my mantra for many, many years. But anyway, I will.
Paul, if I could just touch on a couple of things before we wrap up.
Okay.
First is this conference coming up is going to be fantastic. It's going to be like nothing you've gone to before. Very interactive. We really want to engage in discussions. These the speakers we have they're really going to be more about just having a conversation with them, and what you can learn it's going to be phenomenal. There's going to be so much to be learned. So excited about that lunch hour with Matt Lehman, mostly from the structural side of pulling that off. And we're going to start adding more of those type of LinkedIn Live presentations. So we're open to putting up whatever you want. So give us some feedback. Say, I would really like to have a call on Wednesday that talks specifically about the hem fur market. And we will go out and find people in the hem fur market to have a 15-20 minute conversation that all you do, you're sitting at your computer, you go to our LinkedIn page, and there's the video. So we're going to add to those, and we need more feedback from our users and the people that are finding value in it, and we will provide you with the content that you want. So thank you, Paul.
All right, very good. Thank you all for coming. As always, we appreciate your support. Have a great weekend. Bye-bye.